In our studio right now with us is Congressman Ron Estes. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming home from Washington to be with us this evening. Also, thank you for the cupcakes. That was very nice of you.
Well, it's your 5th-year anniversary, and we wanted to congratulate you. And
I appreciate it.
You need some cupcakes or something to celebrate that.
I am down 20 pounds. The last thing I need is cupcakes, but I guarantee you there are people around here that will eat them. So
okay.
It was very thoughtful of you. Thank you.
I'd hate to have to take them myself. So.
No, as I recall from the TV commercial, you're M&M's.
That's right.
Where you're sweet of choice.
That's right. So, and Susan made me put them back during the commercial. So.
That was almost as good as Steven Johnson's Walking in the Field with the tabulator, which was another pretty good commercial. Congressman, again, thank you for joining us. We always love the opportunity to sit down with you. I can't remember how many times, as I think about it, you've been on this show so many times, and that's, I think, one of the things I appreciate about you and Dr. Marshall is how available you make yourselves to your constituents. And so many, I think, D.C. elites don't take that time, and I really appreciate that about you.
Yeah. Well, first I want to reiterate again, how much success you've had over the last 5 years.
Thank you.
Because you talk about things that are important to people in your listening audience, and so that's why it's important. And me, from my standpoint, I think it's so important for us to be able to talk about what's relevant. What are the issues that are going on? Because there's so much out there, so much disinformation. I mean, you look at the mainstream media, you look at so much of the blogs, and we all know the internet never lies, right?
Yeah, everything's true, right?
Yeah.
And Al Gore invented it.
That's right. So another lie, yeah. But that's why it's important to get on there and be able to talk with folks about what's going on and talk about the issues, and that's really the approach.
And speaking about what's going on, I saw on your Twitter feed, by the way, it's at Rep Ron Estes. You had Homeland Security, you had them before you guys this week, and there was a Homeland Security Department that released a new report that had analysis that said eliminating the annual cost and care to house illegal aliens released into the U.S. under Mayorkas' watch, along with the 1.7 million known gotaways, was roughly $451 billion. I mean, how about, here's an idea, just send them back. I mean, $451 billion.
Well, it's just ridiculous what the Biden administration is doing. I mean, if we go back to what the policies that President Trump had in place and the border security that we had then, and the whole process, like Iran Mexico policy, implementing and maintaining Title 42, and actually following the law as it was defined.
Novel concept.
Yeah. And instead, what the Biden administration is doing is saying, oh, we're not telling you not to come. And so they just literally opened up the doors. I mean, they think that this invasion's an appropriate thing to happen. And now they're coming back and saying, and even we're saying a lot, Democrat governors and Democrat mayors are actually saying this is a crisis and we need more money to take care of this. So instead of that, why don't they just fix the problem?
Novel concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, is why not at least just follow the law, implement the law? You don't have to do anything new, because I get it. He doesn't want to be any less popular than he is. I don't know if that's that's possible. But at least just follow the law.
Right.
If he doesn't want to break ground and make any new policy, then just follow existing policy. He won't even do that.
That's right. And President Trump, the policies that were in place then were working. And we know they were working. We saw the numbers. And instead of seeing, 250,000 people coming across the border every month. And, the number of people that come over here are approaching the equivalent of 2 states of Kansas in the country that have crossed over illegally. And so they're trying to mask that. But it's a problem, and they need to be doing their job.
Let me ask you, I'm sure you heard what your colleague Marjorie Taylor Greene said about the recent continuing resolution vote. By the way, you voted no. Thank you for your no vote. You also made no bones about your frustration with it. You heard what MTG said. She was disappointed in the decision to even run another CR. She implied, she all but said, that the reason McCarthy was ousted in the first place was because of exactly this kind of policymaking. Do you think Speaker Johnson is in danger of facing a similar effort if it comes up again and we go down this route again? Do you think we could be facing another ousted speaker?
Well, one of the things that we've been advocating for years, and actually we're headed down this route this year under first Speaker McCarthy and now Speaker Johnson, was actually let's follow regular order. Let's get our appropriations bills through the process. Unfortunately, the normal process for 2 decades now has been you do a continuing resolution, maybe back yourself up against the Christmas deadline, and then you have to shove through some bloated omnibus bill that spends a lot of money. And instead we're saying let's focus on doing the right appropriations bills. That's what Speaker Johnson wants to do and is going to continue to do that. The frustrating thing I had about this continuing resolution was basically we were continuing to spend at the 2023 rates. And just 5 months ago, majorities in the House and the Senate and the White House agreed to cut spending for fiscal year 2024, which is what we're in right now. And they can't even stick to that agreement in terms of keeping going forward. So that's where we need to focus on that and focus on how do we bend the spending curve, because we spent more money in 2023. We borrowed more money than what we spent on all 12 appropriations bills.
Ron, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. We have a caller on the line. He actually has your old job. Stephen Johnson, our current state treasurer. Stephen, thank you for calling. I appreciate you calling, my friend.
Hey, great to call in. Great to hear the wisdom from our congressman.
Yeah, isn't it? And the two of you, he sure knows your job. So
he does.
But you're not allowed to eye his, just so that you know. You'd have to move anyway, but we're quite happy with it.
Well, you wouldn't have to move, Treasurer, but don't think about it, okay? It makes it easier for me.
I wouldn't consider a race I couldn't win anyway, so that would be a waste of time. So anyway, but I appreciate Ron's guidance for me and his continued guidance in D.C.
Yeah. Well, you've got one of the best jobs because, one, you can help encourage people to save for higher education, and also you make sure that people can get their money back through the unclaimed property process. And that's just an important part that our government ought to do something that actually helps people, and that's one of the things that I really liked about the state treasurer's role.
He must have had his ears ringing or something, because it's ironic. Before you called, we were talking about you because I mentioned Ron's ad where Susan Estes was confiscating his M&Ms, and I said the only ad in the last TV cycle that was better than his was yours out in the field with the adding machine and the receipt blowing in the wind. So you must have heard us.
Yeah, it was. Well, thanks for that, but unfortunately for neither of us, there wasn't much acting involved in those ads. So anyway. But yes, and my job is easier than when Ron was there. The assets that we have and interest rates, while I'm not fond of the Biden policy that has us where we are, and I think that's problematic, with the high short-term rates, there's a lot we can do with the money as it flows through, which Ron didn't get to have any of those benefits when he had to manage everything at the states.
It does make things a little bit easier if you have some money in the bank and able to pay the bills.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, the bad Biden policies are driving that inflation rate. It means it's good that you at least have some cash and some interest.
Well, and Capers is a lot better off now than it was when I was in the legislature, when you were in the treasurer's office. Boy, it was a heck of a lot worse than it is. Sam Brownback, when he first became governor, it was toxic. Yep. At least now it's much better off.
And Stephen was one of the leaders in the legislature that helped work with us as we went through and did that as well.
He was. Stephen's been on the show.
And there was a lot of lifting. But we couldn't have done anything if Governor Brownback had not made getting that just to fiscally responsible one of his top 3 priorities in his first administration. That was the key. It took leadership from the top, then we just had to figure it out.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
So that was good. One of the good things to figure out. But, Ron, if you would have had 5.25% that you could have invested the pooled money at, what would that have felt like?
Well, it'd have been, a whole different day. You think about having a lot of money to be able to invest and have a rate of return that you can actually make some decisions on.
Well, given that there's just cash that comes through, to have the overnight rate at that high a number, again, not a good policy, but we're sure trying to wring everything out we can. So looks like about $400 million in interest this year as the money goes through the coffers.
Careful. Laura Kelly will try and spend that if you're not careful.
Well, it will not repeat, I hope, but it will add to what we're able to work with in the legislature for a year.
Stephen, I appreciate you, brother. You've always been great to come on whenever we've asked you. I appreciate you, my friend.
Glad to do it. Good to hear you, and thanks for your time on the air.
I appreciate. Thank you. That's very nice of you. Thank you for calling, and you just keep doing what you're doing, brother. You're doing a great job.
I will, and Ron, thanks for your work. We've got to figure out how to control that spending at the federal level. That's the number one priority. We need two other people that have your vision that can just make that happen for us.
Yeah, it is, and we're going to continue to keep focusing on that. And we were just talking about overspending as you were calling in, so it's important that we do that. And so I just want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. If I don't see you before the end of the week.
Thanks so much, and the same to you and Susan, and John, you as well.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for calling. Ron, let me ask you, I know I'm up on my quarter break, but real quick, you told Newsmax this week that the government had borrowed more money this year than all of the federal government's discretionary spending combined. That's just obscene.
It is absurd to be spending that much money. More than what's coming in revenue, and it's
that's nothing new. But
it's not a matter of revenues up. So it's a matter that spending's up higher and faster than revenue has been. So it's problematic. We've got to focus on having some fiscal responsibility back in our house.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with that, with this president and this administration, and unfortunately with the leadership across the hall. That's not going to be easy, but, keep fighting the good fight. If folks want to reach out to you, if they want to connect with you, obviously Twitter is Rep. Ron Estes and your website, estes.house.gov. Appreciate you as always. Please say my best to your lovely wife, and just keep up the good work, my friend. Thank you again for coming in. Thank
you, John, and happy 5th anniversary, and hope you have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours.